We're back, people, and today we're going to film on Channing Tindall versus the Texans preseason week 2. I thought he showed some improvement in this game. Like, first game, he showed some good plays, but was a little bit inconsistent. In this game, specifically in coverage, he took some real strides. I was very impressed. They kept playing him, to the tight end side, or with like a 3-by-1. He played at the 3 receiver side. You can tell they really would trust him in coverage, playing, either man-to-man on tight ends, getting down on running backs, or just being like that hook defender. He looked more comfortable here. I like to see this patience out in coverage, man-to-man on a tight end, him just running like a little, stick route to the outside. He's holding his inside leverage, reading the hips of the tight end. He breaks onto him, and he just gets out, matches it pretty nicely down the slot, and then makes a play at the catch point. Very smooth. You got to be able to do this. He's a very athletic player, but he never got a lot of coverage reps at Georgia. He was more of just a run and chase, get downhill, uses athleticism and speed to fly downhill. So seeing him make these strides in coverage is very important to his game. Definitely, making nice plays. If he can cover tight ends, at least, this part of the field, down in the middle, running these stick routes, outs, quick outbreakers, in breakers, those types of things. And then maybe even can take this and work it down the field, carry down the seam in those coverages. It'll be very advantageous to the Fangio system. I like him as, being like probably that fourth linebacker on the roster. And just if he keeps improving, definitely one of the players to watch out for this season. They clearly liked him. He was their top draft pick 2 seasons ago. So Channing Tindall definitely showing some strides in coverage. It's nice to see. And throughout this whole video will be basically all, I think I'll have one rep versus the run, but it'll basically be all in coverage. Here we got Tindall just matching up versus the running back, and he's just releasing into the flat. He's staying over the top, playing like top down because they're in like a zone match coverage here. And he just sees this guy leak out of the backfield, but he doesn't just shoot down right away. He's just maintaining the over-the-top leverage just in case. He's staying square, balanced. He's reading to the QB now with his eyes, and once he sees him look over, he starts to break downhill fast, and he gets there so quickly. The running back actually makes a pretty smart decision not to catch the ball. Love that closing burst out of him too. Like, you can bring this to a team. Clearly, he's still developing when it comes to like instincts, just understanding your responsibilities, play to play, and just consistency. But he's still making these splash plays, and I just think they're coming more and more often. He definitely looks better at this point in preseason compared to last year. Last year, he looked a little lost, and even when he would make like a splash play, they were a lot less consistent. So now to see that consistency becoming more and more through these 2 preseason weeks, obviously a lot of still work to go, but it's nice to see these strides happening. They got Tindall playing to the 3 receiver side, Dolphins out in quarters match. And here he is versus number 17, who's a receiver, third string guy, but he's still a receiver on a linebacker. He should lose this most of the time. You can just see how much more comfortable he seems in coverage. He's just matching the number 3 if he's working vertically. He tries to hit him. So we saw earlier them run a little stick. This is very common for them to give a little stick and nod to work up vertically. Tindall does not fall for it at all. He stays patient. He maintains his leverage. If he did break out, he was in a good position to break, but he stays in a very good spot. He breaks back to the inside. Ball's already thrown out late here, so it doesn't end up getting targeted. But it's really just nice to see him pretty much mirror and match this receiver perfectly. Good eye discipline, good base, square technique, all pretty sound in coverage. Just nice to see him looking comfortable there, and they clearly trust him as like a dime linebacker working out to, the receiver side that has more options, and he's like that inside wall out threat. He can carry guys vertically. He can either match up, get down, or just truly drop and be that hook defender over the middle of the field. He's looking more and more comfortable, and it's just nice to see that development out of him, matching up versus a receiver in the slot. Obviously, it's just one play, but it's very good to see. It's a very hopeful looking rep for the future for sure from Channing Tindall on that one. Tindall still looking very comfortable on screens when it's just like a run and chase type of play, and he can see everything develop in front of him. Nothing too crazy with like the run concepts, because he can get a little lost at times when it comes to run concepts, just taking himself out of plays, fitting in the run. But when he can read and just see like the screenplay happening, he gets his eyes out here, he's recognizing this, and he's able to act on his athleticism, which he really makes up for, and just close instantly, takes a great angle, blows this up for only a 2-yard gain. From where his alignment is, he's aligned up on the hash right here, and he's getting here first on this receiver is a very impressive play, especially for only a 2-yard gain. Like, it would make sense if like maybe he was a few more yards down the field and he got there first, but just impressive. Him playing to the strength of he's been like the strong hook defender in a lot of these situations. That's clearly where they like him. They clearly trust him in coverage to play him to this side, and it was definitely a nice improvement to see out of his game, and I love that aspect. Still a strength coming from Georgia. Downhill run and chase, burst, and hit someone hard to limit these gains out in space. He's definitely always been very good there, but just nice to see him developing more and more of his coverage skills. That was the thing that definitely impressed me most throughout this entire game. This running play isn't anything too insane, but it's just nice to see him understanding his run fits. That little motion here bumps him down, and he's this A-gap defender, and he just understands what his job here. He shows some chase too. He doesn't end up getting involved. It doesn't seem like much, but this is an improvement from him. Just doing your job. You bump down, you become the A-gap defender. You see it open up just based on these blocks. There's a combo happening here. This guy goes out to block this defensive tackle. So he comes down and fills it right away. That's where the running back would have gone if Tindall didn't fill up in his gap. So he tries to hit the cutback here. Tindall starts to anticipate it because he understands, like, why would he hit through this? It doesn't make any sense. Not a great read by the running back. So he's anticipating, getting over the top. And once the running back clears your gap, you can leave it. You can get back over the top. He scrapes over this block to fill now this new hole. So he ends up, becoming responsible for multiple different gaps. He replaces this defensive lineman who ends up becoming responsible for his gap. So just great work understanding his job. And then everyone else does a really good job up front as well. And it forces this guy to really bounce it to the outside. But if he just hit up the middle, Tindall would have been there in multiple different gaps to make a play. A very impressive rep that maybe usually would go unnoticed if you don't understand like the really nuances or tiny details of the game. And it's something that was one of my favorite plays from Tindall, even though it was more of a coverage game from him. This was my favorite rep that he had versus the run, even though he didn't even really end up being involved in the tackle at all. Here we got Tindall again as the strong hook defender. Dolphins rotate down into like a 3-match, and he just has a good impact on this play. They play him to this 3 receiver side. It's a 3-by-1. They really like him here as that strong hook guy. Go out, get your eyes on number 3, see what he's working at here. Pass him off. You see he crosses his face. He knows he has help and can pass this off to that linebacker or to this buzz defender right here. So he stays patient, and once he works past him, he squeezes it to initially, so if they try to hit it through the hole, he can make a play on this. But once it's far enough away, he knows he can pass it off and then come back and then help disrupt this throwing lane. There's good coverage here on 17, but he helps disrupt the throwing lane and makes this a very difficult throw. Just by staying patient, disciplined, understands his job. See, he motions over with the tight end. They definitely clearly look at him as that guy for this defense. You can see him play this patient, ready to break if they throw it, but he's just reading through to the quarterback because he's just a pure zone defender. And then he comes off able to just get in the throwing lane enough to where it ends up being out of the way. Would have had to been a perfect throw to get in there. And he could have probably played it maybe a little bit better. He was maybe a little tick late, but pretty solid play, especially. I don't think I saw him make these types of plays as a true zone guy, as that hook defender. So I was very impressed overall from this game in Tindall with the stuff he did in coverage. Coming downhill, making plays, looking pretty solid in man coverage, matching up in zone match versus a receiver in the slot. And he tried to hit him with a double move too. If the receiver hits a linebacker with a double move and they don't fall for it at all and maintains perfect coverage, I'm coming away impressed no matter what. And now just as a true zone guy where he has to, process the route concepts, squeeze leverage underneath, but then get back and sometimes just take away throwing lanes. That's your job as these hook defenders. And clearly they played him to the strength of the formation where he can be that like 4th guy to the 3 receiver side because usually they have a +1 advantage in the Fangio system. I like that development from Tindall because he could come in, if he keeps playing like this, he could be one of those guys who comes in as like a dime linebacker and like a dime package. And he adds just more speed to the defense because he's probably they have a very fast linebacker corps, and he might be the fastest of them all. Actually, wow, they really do have a fast linebacker corps thinking about it. But he's he's got the youngest, freshest legs, and he might take them all in just a pure speed race, even though, Baker, Riley, Long, all very athletic too. So kind of like the young linebacker corps could add some top tier talent. I made a video on AJ Johnson yesterday. He's a nice vet add. They don't really, Long is sort of that really good player. Baker, solid. They could use a little more depth there, but I'm starting to like it more and more. Definitely better at what it was than last season, especially because if Tindall improves, that will make this linebacker core pretty solid overall, which is the weakest part of the defense in my opinion. So hopefully Tindall can bring that to this team. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.